Was supposed to switch over. Also, I'm not sure if the audio's work. Everything changed, man. Everything changes. Let's see. Do I have audio? Check. All right, looks like it's working. Good. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it was supposed to switch automatically from the countdown. Oh, and chat's not up. Northern Chimp, hello. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm honestly, I don't know, I'm not doing all that great today. Fairly down for no reason whatsoever. I considered not doing a live stream, but it was too much work to put notifications on places that the live stream wouldn't happen, which is a sad reason not to cancel a live stream. But we're here. Let's talk about nerdy stuff. Anybody has any nerdy questions or anything they want to talk about? I would love to talk about nerdy stuff. It's my first cup of coffee for the day. I have literally just been so out of it. I forgot to have coffee this morning. So this should maybe make the day better anyway. It's really good coffee. It's an Ethiopian blend, single origin from Higher Grounds, the roastery a couple hours away from me. Really, they make really good coffee. This is particularly good. And then I have a bubbly chaser as well. So we will hydrate while we chat. My wife is gone today. She's not working, but she is at a siblings weekend with her siblings. That's how it goes. So I'm not sure what time she'll be home. Let's creep on her with Life 360. I mean, I will see if she's on her way back or if they're still doing stuff. Oh, hold on, I missed a question. Newbie nerdy question. Heck yeah, I'd love that. I'd love that question. I'm gonna spy on my wife. She is 3 hours away. Looks like she might be in a mall or something. K Jeweler. Yeah, some kind of a mall looking thing. So anyway. Yeah, just me. Me and the dogs. And yeah. Pet some dog belly earlier. That was a good time. Also, I don't have wax on my teeth, so I might have to stop partway through to wax up my braces because they tend to hurt. But Northern Chimp, yeah, please. What is your question? If I can't answer, at least we'll talk about why I can't answer it. That'll be fun. Well, I just looked over my window on another browser window, and Neuralink second human trials. Man, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want people to put implants in my, like, experimental implants in my brain anyway, but I don't think that an Elon Musk led trial is the most stable of medical places to go right now. Anyway, Bite Moose, hello, welcome. All you've missed is that I am pretty down in the dumps today for no good reason. So we're looking for topics to talk about, and yeah. And Northern Chimp has a newbie nerdy question, but they haven't given us the question yet. So nerdy question and tea. Yeah, well, this is just coffee right now. But okay, this is why I'm down in the dumps today. I had to turn the furnace on for the first time this year. But I did. I turned the furnace on because I found myself covered in blankets and still cold. And yeah, so I had to turn the furnace on, which is fine. It's fine, but still, it's a bummer. Yeah. Bite Moose, I'm with you. Yeah. And I'm home alone, so sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. Chef Daddy Oba, what do I think of Congress starting to pass a bill where it isn't required to acquire a bachelor's degree just to work for any position in the industry? I don't know how Congress would have any say in that. So you have to clarify. I don't like Congress would say like that can't be a requirement because I mean, right now a company can hire anybody. I don't even have an associate's degree, and I've worked for 2 educational institutions, even. But I'm curious what that would mean. Like that it can't be a requirement as long as they're capable. I don't know. Anyway, okay. Northern Chimp. I copied a folder from one USB drive to another using my Linux Mint laptop. The transfer kept gradually slowing down. The whole thing was offline, so no telemetry ISP to blame. So, could be a couple things, and I'm just gonna throw some educated guesses out. It could be that the USB drive is failing. I mean that is possible. It could also be that Linux expected a throughput higher than the USB drive could manage. Like for whatever reason, maybe it was connecting in as a USB 1 device, which has ridiculously slow throughput. And so maybe it assumed it was like USB 3. And so its initial estimates were based on USB 3 speeds. And then as it copied and it's like further revisions on the time estimate, we're like, okay, well, we've only copied this much. So we're this percentage after this amount of time. So maybe it kept slowing down, even though it was copying at the same speed. I think one of the things to check would be, and this might work, it might not, because depending on how the drive is caching things on where it's like being copied to, or I don't know, to or from, but you could do like an ls, -l to see like how many blocks of data are written in the file and see if the speed of the written blocks is decreasing or if that's pretty much consistently, copying and just the estimate was wrong. I mean, Windows historically, it's a meme at this point where Windows is like, this file will take approximately 632,000 years to copy when something goes wrong. And it's just like happy to give you that estimate. I would be curious what's going on, if it was actually slowing down or just the estimate was becoming more realistic, or if something went wrong. Something really could have gone wrong. Bite Moose got an IT degree, not worth papers written on. If I didn't know, I would have just gone and got certed. Bite Moose, I've heard that, and over my career as a trainer, one of the questions that me and every other professional trainer get asked is, should we go for a college degree or for a certificate? And the answer is always, it depends. But I think that we do live in a time where certifications provide value that they didn't used to carry the same weight as like a college degree. So yeah, I think that it's fair to say certs have gotten more respected when it comes to hiring. I mean, sadly, the big trick is to get the interview, and a lot of that is just checking boxes. And unfortunately, some of those boxes are degrees. And Chef Daddy Opa, for example, I know I'm not gonna be specific because I don't want to cause her any work stress, but a friend of mine works for one of the large tech companies, and this is not specific to this large tech company. It's not the case with all of them, but most of them, or many of them, require a bachelor's degree before you are even eligible for, like, literally doesn't matter who you are. Like, they wouldn't hire Steve Jobs when he was, if he would have applied when he was alive, because he didn't have a degree. And if the Congress thing is saying like that it can't be like a non-starter for people if they don't have a college degree, like that can't be a reason they're excluded from applying. Okay, I mean, that would be interesting. I think that would be to the benefit of the companies everywhere. I think the only, this is going to sound bad, and I say this as somebody without a degree, so it doesn't hold as much weight, but for many majors, for many degrees, the only thing that having a college degree signifies is your ability to follow through on something. I think that's the only box it ticks these days. And I say that because the friend who I'm trying really hard to obscure has a role at an IT company, like a top IT company. And the only reason she was eligible is because of, that she had a bachelor's degree. But that bachelor's degree is in no way IT related. And I really just want to say the what she has a degree in, because it is so the opposite of IT that it is comical. But it allowed her to get a job at this IT company. Her job experience is what made her able, or made her a good candidate for the position. But she couldn't have applied without that role. For example, I might have fit into the role. In fact, I think it's a role that I would be able to do, but I could not even have gotten to the application process because I don't have a college degree. So maybe that would be what it might do. But yeah, I think for companies looking, companies that do require that college degree, I think at this point, especially if they don't specify what not just especially, but I mean, absolutely, if they don't require the degree to be in any specific field, then it's clearly just their way to filter out people who, they want people who have the ability to follow through and complete something. And it's an expensive metric to have to tick a box, but it is what it is, I guess. What I don't know, I am a little curious if a lot of those require like an accredited degree, and maybe we should start, Nerdling University and offer college degrees, bachelor degrees to people who, attend live streams every Sunday. It wouldn't be accredited, but, I should look into see what it takes to actually issue a degree. Anyway, you might need the right staff with the right motivation. You get epic products. And there's so many people without a degree that are just epic at tech. Yeah, and I mean, and tech is the one that it's so easy to find examples. Like Steve Jobs did not have a college degree, and he was Steve Jobs. I mean, come on, that's it's just crazy. So yeah, I think that it's a weird metric that companies use, but it seems like the larger and more corporate a company is, the more they really lean heavy on that college degree requirement, even though it's a silly metric these days. And I'm not saying that a college degree is not a valuable thing. I'm just saying that it's often not the valuable thing for, a particular IT thing, especially. That's just, I think of IT more as vocational, and for better or for worse, that's just the way that I think about it. And when I think of vocational, I think, like a cert. It just makes more sense. But again, if you want to get a job at one of the top IT companies, you have to have a bachelor's degree before you can even be. It's not like without that, you're probably not. No, you cannot even get into the application pool without it. And that's just so frustrating. On the other side of that, so many people with paperwork are just crap with serious attitude problems. Oh, absolutely. And I think that the big companies, I'm trying to like put on my, what would I do in their position? And obviously I would do it different, but why are they doing what they're doing? And I think that if they're using a college degree as a filter to filter out people who, like if they have a college degree, then they are likely to be able to follow through. They think that anybody who would fall through the, who might get blocked by the filter, sure, there's going to be some good candidates there, but they're saving themselves time by only going for people who have like made it through that first hurdle. I just don't think it's great, because yeah, there are so many people with degrees who are just dumb, or not even just dumb, horrible people who have like gotten this leg up into the application process just because of that degree that they have. And I mean, it's another, if you don't have the money to get a 4-year degree, then your financial limitations are something that are limiting the ability you have to make money. And I mean, I guess it's easy to slip into political ideals at that point, but I'm really annoyed by companies that won't even consider somebody without a college degree these days. You know, maybe there was a time where it was, it would have been more vital, or it would have been more significant to have that college degree. But now I think if the job isn't going to require a college degree information, like stuff that you would only learn in college, why would you have that as a requirement? But anyway, yeah. Andy Carlson, hey, how are you doing? Good to see you. So I don't know if you just stopped in, but I am live streaming today, even though I was going to cancel because I'm just down in the dumps for no reason whatsoever today, but it was going to be too much effort to put out like no live stream today notices. So I decided to live stream anyway, and we're talking nerdy stuff and it's keeping my brain busy. So, yeah, so I'm glad we're live streaming. If you have any weird nerdy topics you want to talk about, hey, drop them in the chat, because I need to have stuff to talk about for my own well-being. And I'm curious. So anybody who is here, I see we got looks like 18 people are watching. You don't have to answer, obviously, but how many people here have degrees? I'm curious. Andy came in at an interesting point. Some people with degrees are dumb. Yeah. But I did quickly correct that, because yes, while that is true, some people with degrees they just don't have any grasp of reality, how things work. But that's not like people with degrees don't know what they're doing. I didn't mean that, but I don't think it's a good sign of technical, especially, ability anymore. So yeah. I'll tell you my Linux joke, but you might not get it. I might not get it. I can't think of a snappy Pac-Man comeback for that one, but yeah, it felt like the right vein, like Pac-Man as a response felt good. And if you don't get the Pac-Man reference, well, don't I feel snooty? So yeah, I did go to college. I guess I should confess that I went to Michigan Tech for a year and a half. I was working towards an electrical engineer degree, because when I got out of high school, got scholarships and stuff, and I was going to Michigan Tech, and I was going to be an electrical engineer because they made a lot of money. That was the sole motivation. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. They made a lot of money, so I was going to be, and I found myself after, so I got really good grades in Calc 1, really good grades in Calc 2, and then Calc 3, they started doing things with numbers that I didn't think needed to be done. And I dropped out. I ended up skipping all my engineering classes that second year and hanging out in the computer labs, because at that point, the computer science degree was just C programming. That's all it meant. There was no college education about computer networking. If you wanted to do computer networking, you had to work in a place with multiple computers that needed to connect together. And so I ended up skipping all my engineering classes and hanging out in the computer lab to learn how that stuff worked. And that was my first experience with Unix, because they had a lab of Next cubes, and they were running Unix, the predecessor to Mac OS. Mac OS 10, the newer version. And yeah, that was it. But anyway, then I dropped out and started a business that failed. And anyway, D Powers, hey, that is my wife Donna, who is, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, she's out of town on a siblings day retreat, and so I worry that she's going to be worried about me, because I said that I'm doubting I was going to cancel. I'm doing great, Donna. We're doing well. We're talking nerdy stuff. I'm perfectly okay. And I have a dog right laying on my foot who I am petting, which is why I'm hunched over weird. So yeah, things are going good. Let's see. Chef Daddy Opa. As a former chef, I only have third degree burn degrees. 2 associate degrees and tons of luck. Andy, yeah. And my youngest daughter has an associate's degree. And I don't know if that was one of the things that got her job or not. I mean, the knowledge that she gained from the degree didn't, but she's working at Great Lakes Center for the Arts here in Petoskey. It's actually in Bay Harbor. And she is now like a facilities person there. Like she just does all the things. And I think that her having that degree got her like further along in the interview process, but I'm not sure what actually did it. So emerge understanding. Oh, see, now it's getting even nerdier there, Northern Chimp. I appreciate that. Bite moves awesome. Yeah, I'm doing great. It's great. Everything is fine. I don't know why my voice is so high and squeaky, because really, I'm fine. Yeah, I also, let's see. So I dropped out of college in Michigan Tech my second year, halfway through my second year. And that's when I came back and I started a business that just failed miserably. I just don't have a mind for business. Then met my wife, and we both went to the local community college a little, but never finished a degree. So I never finished even a single associate's degree. So, yeah. And I think that if I were young now and in that position, I might have a much tougher time getting the jobs that I got. I think that would be a fair thing. Partially that's fair. Like I said, when I was in college, any computer science degree just meant C programming. That's the only thing computer science meant. And that's not the kind of positions that I was hired for. Whereas now there are things that you could learn in college to prepare you for some of the jobs that I got, like the tech at a school district, and the working for the university still doesn't make sense. I should not have been hired for that. I mean, I did fine, I think, but I was woefully underqualified for that job. A college degree wouldn't have helped, but I was still woefully underqualified. Let's see. The job market over here isn't great at the moment. I believe that, and I am sorry to hear that. It's a little strange. The job market here, like if you look at the news and stuff, it looks like there are a lot of jobs happening, but I think it's very field specific, and I'm not sure that they're great jobs, because a lot of my friends, older like myself, approaching or in middle age, trying to find positions for their level of experience has been challenging for years now. So I don't know. I don't have a good grasp on the job market, and I'm grateful that I have a job that I'm not talking bad about the job, that I don't have the same passion for my day job that I used to, but it's something I can do and get paid well. So I'm grateful for that. Oh, Andy, the first few jobs out of college was me falling ass backwards into opportunity. Inflection point. Okay. All right. Yeah. I think that sometimes as we get older and we've been in the world for longer, especially in IT, we forget about like our roots, because I was running the tech support desk for dial-up internet. And that is, super entry-level job, but that experience got me to a point where I was more confident in other things. So I think those starting frustrating, like dead-end jobs get you not just experience so that you can like use those as bullet points to get your next job, but just a familiarity and a comfort level with how things work, and grow those problem-solving skills that can adapt to any aspect of any job. Just getting older and wiser, but there's a lot to be said for those early grunt jobs, that's for sure. Richard Kelly Jackson, hello, welcome. First of all, working on getting Linux Foundation certified. What thoughts on the certification? So, my thoughts on the certification are the content. And no, I have to admit, I haven't reviewed the objectives in several years, but what the certification was always aiming towards knowledge-wise, I thought was good. It was a little lighter than LPIC 1 and Linux Plus, but not in a terrible way. It was a good, solid set of qualifications. My personal experience, though, when I took the exam, like I built a course for covering all the objectives, and then I took the exam, and the exam process was so poorly designed and even worsely, is that a word, implemented. It was absolutely terrible. Like the virtual system that you connected to would crash. There were path names that you had to type in manually by hand because tab completion didn't work in their environment. And they were literally long strings of random character folder names that you just had to type in. Like, it was absurd. It was just the worst testing experience, not only that I ever experienced, but that I couldn't have dreamt up something so convoluted. But the objectives themselves were good and solid. And I have to think that the testing process has gotten better since I took it. So, yeah, and the Linux Foundation is only growing as in influence and size and scope. So I think that that Linux Foundation name probably means something significant these days, whereas at first the Linux Foundation, I don't know that any company would have even known what that meant. But now they're kind of a behemoth. So I think that it's a great test to prepare for. And Richard, if I don't know if you're a regular viewer of the live streams or anything, but if you do get that certification, you take the exam, I would love a firsthand kind of your thoughts on the test, not to a degree that would compromise like the integrity of the exam. I'm not looking for like a brain dump, or I'm not looking for, you to violate any, but just like what you thought of the testing experience. Like, was it the most ridiculous thing you'd ever experienced? Or, was it a perfectly crummy way to estimate your knowledge? I would love to hear that from somebody who has recently taken one of the Linux Foundation tests. So, yeah. But moves any sort will help if you have it, and they don't. That's true. And a lot of times, and I say a lot of times, I don't know. It so depends on what a company is looking for in a hire. Sometimes a company is looking to fill a specific role that they understand well, and the certifications may or may not play a significant role in what they are looking for. But then if it's a role that they are creating and they're not terribly familiar, having certifications that demonstrate a wide array of knowledge in the area might be more attractive. They might be like, we don't really know, so we would love somebody who knows all kinds of crap and has all kinds of letters behind their name. It really depends so much on the individual role for the individual company. It can be frustrating, and that's why I think while everybody I know has sent out like hundreds of applications before they land a role, it's so important that you consider every position independently from all the other positions that you're applying for. What are they, read very thoroughly what it is they're looking for. Are they replacing an existing role? Are they expanding? Are they hoping to streamline? Look at what they're looking for, and then design your resume, not design, tweak, adjust your resume, or what is the CV? Is that what they're called across the pond? CVs? I think that's what we would call resumes, are referred to as CVs there. You just kind of tweak it so that it is the best possible match for the role. And I don't mean to like trick AI. Like, I know a lot of people say you just copy the job description and paste it in a tiny font on the bottom, and then the AI filters will see it. Maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. I don't know, but it's good to use the same terminology that they use so that you are a better fit. And tweaking everyone is really ideal. I'm behind a little bit. Sorry. Andy, business knowledge is extremely valuable. It is. And, business knowledge, both in like business, like the economics of it, but also just like hands-on experience too, which I'm not sure which you meant, but both are true. Just having that experience is just, it's invaluable. It's the thing that you can only learn by doing, which is one of the reasons that, certifications are kind of like evidence of some experience, because you kind of have to do the stuff in order to pass a lot of the exams. They're making a lot of the exams more interactive, so it's not just rote memorization, which I appreciate. Yeah. Let's see. Bite Moose, Jack of all trades, or Swiss Army knives can get you all kinds of stuff. Yes. And oh, let's see. I was thinking about getting Linux Essentials just to start at ground up. Bite Moose, if you don't have any Linux experience or comfort level, I mean, it's still my most popular thing on YouTube because it's the only dumb thing that I ever finished. But the the opening slide to my Linux Essentials course literally says the most important certification that you probably don't need to get. If you go through that entire course and you're comfortable with it, I mean, if you want to get the certification just to like prove to yourself, hey, I really did get it, that's great. But I like that Linux Essentials objectives because it introduces just enough of open source in general and everything that I think it makes the barrier to entry into the Linux world a lot smoother. Because jumping right into something like Linux Plus or LPIC 1, it just assumes that you know stuff already, and not everybody knows stuff already. So, Andy, there are more companies who are hiring people who are a cultural fit, even over skill fit. If you're trainable, you can fit. It can be better. Now that is interesting. And Andy, maybe you know this. If that's the case, which I have no doubt that it's the case, how do you know how to properly apply a cultural fit? I mean, how do you find out the culture of a place that you are applying to? Or is this just the kind of thing that you don't know and the company hires because they know themselves and they're looking for somebody of an equally cultural fit? Because I think that's it's interesting that you say that, and it's a fascinating thought to have, because while diversity in culture is great, I can see why a company would want to have, monoculture sounds like a terrible way to do it, but I think that a culture can be very diverse and still fit, but not if like a person is adversarial about stuff. So yeah, I don't know. That's interesting though, that the company would consider cultural fit even over skills. I think probably cultural fit and ability to learn, chef's kiss, right? I mean, if you can hire somebody who is able and willing to learn, oh yeah, that's the stuff right there, because every company is so different. A really close friend of mine who, again, I'll try really hard not to throw under the bus and like you say there, they just got into a role, kind of a senior role. I mean, my friends are about my age, and we're the age where a lot of times it's a senior level role that you go for. But he got a role there, and it's using he's obviously in IT, more developer centric than I am. And he is using tools and processes that he has never touched ever in his career, like not even remotely close. But he's been in IT and done a lot of stuff over the years. And so, he is adjusting to the new stuff and learning it just fine. And he was hired probably for his ability to adjust to new processes and senior level roles are now the wisdom of experience that they bring to the table is truly the only thing that makes us hireable. Because if you're looking for somebody who knows the most and best about the latest tool set, it's not going to be a senior level worker. What a senior level worker is going to bring is the wisdom of, okay, when new things come, what is the best way to approach it? How do we integrate that without, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, all those sorts of things. CVs, curriculum vitae. Okay, cool. Yeah, CVs. That's what I was pretty sure that was what we would call resumes that other folks call CVs. By business knowledge, I mean ability to examine and interpret business processes. Yeah. And another aspect of that is understanding the social aspects inside of a company too, right? I mean, business, they say business is business, but that's only true to a point, because businesses are run by people and people are people. So it's important to understand the social dynamics of things. I've been using Linux for ages, just not great, need to prove. I can't out there. Yeah, Bite Moose, then if you are in a financial place to take that exam, that Linux Essentials exam, I would say go for it and then use that as, that is the foundation of where you are building the proof not only to yourself, but to, anything that you want to do in the future. Like, okay, I've been using Linux. I thought I was good at it. And now I know, I know what Linux is all about. Prove it to yourself and boom, there it is. And especially in that kind of an instance, it's a perfect exam. And it's not horribly expensive, but it's not cheap. I don't remember exactly how much it costs, but it probably won't get anybody a job. That's the thing. Linux Essentials certification on its own probably will not be the tipping point for getting a specific job or not. Andy, a lot of times from an applicant standpoint, it's apply and test. If the company is hiring this, so ideally they would have their culture well defined. I could see that. And I guess that makes sense. You don't know. Another nice thing that would have, though, if you are turned away from a job that you seem very qualified for and it's confusing, it might be comforting to realize that, maybe I wasn't fit for the business, for the culture, and it had nothing to do with my abilities, which is both frustrating, but also, kind of helps with insecurities. Like, okay, it's not that I couldn't have done the job. It's, whatever. Sometimes age is against you. They can teach younger ones in the way. Yeah. And they can teach younger ones their way and pay them less money. I think that older folks like myself who would apply for a position are not going to get the position if they are the type who are set in their ways. If I were to go in and I would say, well, the first thing I would want to do is I would want to make sure that all new development is done in PHP, because PHP is a standard that is just rock solid. And that was kind of a silly extreme example, but I think that people who are older and provide current value worth the, commensurate value to what wages they would want, I think are those who, yes, are flexible, yes, are still willing to learn new things on their own, but also bring with them the wisdom of having done that already multiple times. And so, know what snafus a group of youngsters, and the friend that I was talking about who just got that role, he is now the oldest person in the group with the least experience in what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, but he is still looked to for decision-making input because of the experience that he has. And that's the kind of thing that is tough to quantify outside of, a particular situation, but nonetheless. Experience and being calm when things are on fire is always handy. It is. And not to make everything about ADHD, but one of the weird quirks about people with ADHD is often in an emergency situation, under fire, high stress, they are extremely good and quick and calm. And it's because of the massive amount of dopamine that situation presents. That is what makes ADHD folks, just laser focus and do a really good job. But it's kind of, how do you screen for, if something goes wrong, this is the person that you want at your back, especially when on a day-to-day basis, that person tends to be silly and flighty and easily distracted, and the opposite of what you would expect from somebody who you would rely on under pressure. So yeah, that's just one of the weird, funny things about ADHD, is that it's absolutely who you want to hire, except you don't want to hire that person. They're reckless and all those things until you need them, and then they're amazing. So anyway, would like Linux Essentials, Linux Plus, and Red Hat. No, you don't. It's not that you don't have no life. Bite Moose is you, my friend, are a nerdling, just as I am, just as we all are. So I don't think I have any current. I think all of the certs that I've gotten over the years have expired. Maybe my Linux Plus one is still, no, probably not. I think Linux Plus probably expired too, because I got that when it was brand new, and I think they expire after 3 years or something. Anyway, having all those certifications is not a downside at all. Andy, as a person working through ADHD, I identify with the high stress effectiveness point. Yes, Andy. So I'll tell you a quick story, and I'm positive my wife is not still watching, but so the past 2 years have been just chaotic around our house because she had to have 2 major surgeries on her heels. She had actually, it's a genetic deformity that was misdiagnosed for decades, and she was having difficulty even walking. Anyway, she had to have the back of her heel bone cut off. But to do that, her Achilles had to be detached and cleaned and like fixed and then reattached to the cut off heel bone, what was left. Anyways, really major surgery on both heels. She'd gone through the first one and healed, and it takes like 6 months before she could walk on it. So she had to, get through that. And then the next heel started. And so the second surgery had gone, it seemed to be going well. She was in physical therapy, but then for some reason, her Achilles tendon did not heal up like it was supposed to. It had been damaged. It appeared to be damaged no more than the other one, but apparently it was, because it snapped, and it snapped so violently that it literally burst out the back of her heel. So it was like, it was like a murder scene in a horror film. And we were walking into the house, and she's like, ow. And, she felt it snap, and it was dark, and we're like, okay. She's like, I just need to hold on a second before I can go. And then I looked down, and literally the ground is like a puddle of blood is like growing. It was just mortifying. Anyway, I say all that to say I also faint at the sight of blood. It's just a thing about me. If it's a bad cut, if I see blood and I'm bleeding, or somebody else, my wife had a mole removed when we were younger. It was probably like 20 years ago. And I was there, holding her hand next to her, and the doctor, they use this, it looks like a cookie cutter. They actually called it a cookie cutter on a blade. You like put it around the mole, and I went mid-word, I was like, and I passed out. Anyway, but when her heel blew out, because it was an emergency, my brain went into it's emergency time. So we are going to be the person in the situation that you want. And so, took care of her, got her to the car, to the hospital, did all the things, didn't remotely come close to getting woozy or anything. And it was only after the fact that I realized, I guess this was good to know about myself, that while, yes, I faint at the sight of blood, in an emergency, my brain turns that part off and just kind of takes control and handles things. So, yeah, working through ADHD. I wish medicine worked better for me, but just knowing is such a value. And yeah, it is funny, Andy, though, that's one of the major, everybody has ADHD a little different, but one of the commonalities is generally in a high stress, high pressure situation, people with ADHD are generally very good at what they do. And it's just because of the dopamine. Your body your brain is flooded with dopamine and adrenaline, and that's what our brains are starved for. So when we have a steady supply, we're like, this is what I was built for. So anyway, and Bite Moose, yeah, I'm sorry if you didn't identify as a nerd and you were here, boy, I apologize. Because we're all nerds here, except my wife. She's a nerd by association, and then she only stopped in and left quickly. So nonetheless, although I have to admit, she'll watch Star Trek with me and actually enjoy it. So, gotta say. Chef Dadiopa, Tourette's. Oh, wow. Yes, actually, that is interesting. So you don't have to answer this. Obviously, this is your own, but how does your Tourette's generally manifest? Like tics, are they often physical tics? Do you have speech tics? I'm just curious. There's no like follow-up reason. I'm just genuinely curious how your Tourette's manifests for you. Because that's fascinating. And I didn't know that there's a tie with ADHD along with that. I do also have OCD myself. That one wasn't specifically diagnosed. I wasn't really tested for that. It's just one of the I don't want to talk too much about my weird. Okay, so I will a little bit. One of the weird things, like some people have to touch a knob 3 times. For me, if I turn the volume up on a remote, I have to also turn it down, and that can be very frustrating. Thankfully, I can turn it up a little higher than I wanted, and then I can turn it down, and then like my OCD, like whatever is okay. But what I was never able to do is use a Kindle that had a next and previous page button, which seems silly, but it drove me insane because if I pressed the next page, my brain wouldn't stop thinking about the fact that I hadn't touched the other button. And if you touch the previous page button, you're back where you started. And if it's only a couple, so I could try to get around it by going next, previous, but one on a Kindle, that's super slow. And also it's not it still felt uneven. So anyway, yeah, OCD can be a pain in the butt too. Yeah, but nonetheless, I digress. Bite Moose, a slight change of hope. Work is going okay. Hope we get some time and do some stuff. Yes, I hope so too. This past week I was really drawn in. I have a lot of friends in Florida, and I was really worried about them. So I was doing a lot of worthless pacing and just being worried. Everybody is fine, which I'm glad about. And my daughter and son-in-law were on we're on a trip for their 1-year anniversary. And while they were gone, we were trying to paint their inside of their house and get all the stuff running. And so it's been a little bit crazy outside of the norm, but yeah, I hope so. Because I would like that. Hip Dad, hello. Oh, Chef Daddy, I used to have vocal tics like crazy. Then I took training. Oh, that's fascinating. That's cool that treatment helped though. Very cool. And thanks for sharing it. I really was just curious. I didn't have any follow-up or any other thoughts. I was just genuinely curious. So appreciate sharing. I mean, yeah, I don't have Tourette's. I understand not being able to sit still. That's an ADHD thing too. As I sit here and my leg is shaking like crazy. All that stuff is pretty normal for me, but interesting too that anxiety and nervousness would bring that out. I believe that. I think the same sort of thing with folks with a stutter, right? At a high stress situation, they tend to come out a lot more. So that's interesting. For me, don't know exactly what aspect of it. It happened after my car accident where I had a traumatic brain injury. If I'm in a crowded room for a long time, I just get sensory overload and almost to the point where I can't process input very well anymore. People will be talking to me and I don't even hear them. I'm just kind of in a bit of a crazy fog, and I usually just have to leave. But yeah, it's brains are interesting. Hip Dad, I got jacked in the Matrix, pacemaker installed. Oh, 2 weeks. Oh, hopefully it's all going well. So now I'm curious. Of course, same as with Chef Daddy Opa, you don't have to share it all either, Hip Dad. But I'm curious: does the pacemaker? I mean, obviously gives you confidence, that it's going to keep your ticker ticking. But is it already doing things where you can tell physically, you're not suddenly tired or whatever the symptoms that caused the pacemaker to go in? Do you notice already that there's a difference in quality of life, or is it just the kind of thing that it's going to allow that life to continue, which is obviously a quality in and of its own? I've never known anybody and had a conversation with somebody with the pacemaker to know if it's the kind of thing that improves things on a day-to-day basis, or if it's a preventative to make sure that it keeps going, as normal. Again, you don't have to answer, but I'm just curious about that. Chef Daddy Opa, yeah. And I like to, I wasn't going to talk about the volume thing on my OCD, but then I'm like, no, I like it when people are open about the issues that they struggle with. I think that the more we know each other, the more we see other people as people, the better the world can be. So I appreciate you sharing. And yeah, But it was another bad joke. Dad, what are clouds made of? Linux servers mostly. That's just true. I remember when the cloud terminology first came out. If you look on the Linux Journal website for cloud and my name, you'll see like at the beginning, I had to write several upfront short little articles / columns in the upfront section because we would get so many questions about the cloud. And I would just try to define what the cloud was so that people would understand what everybody was talking about. And yeah, looking back at some of the, I mean, I haven't looked at them in years, but it's just funny. I would just say it's just other people's computers and they're letting you use them, and just trying to get people to understand the fancy new technology was funny. Hip Dad, yes, I can feel more active. Oh, good. Oh, you can't, you're not allowed, okay. Yeah. Well, don't test it on my behalf. Like Sean wanted to know. So I ran for a mile. That is good though. If you're already feeling, more active, that's awesome. Resting heart went from 60 to 80 beats per minute. Wow. That is cool. Yeah. I'm glad it's going. Oh yeah. I pray that it continues to go well too. And if you don't mind, I'd love the report. Like after the few more weeks, if you notice that, like, yeah, I'm so glad that I did this. Like, yeah, it just feels like, trimmed years off my life and I feel active again. I hope that's the case because that sounds cool. You walked for 4 miles. Nice. Were you allowed to? You didn't just walk for 4 miles because I asked, right? I mean, that. Oh, raising your left arm is not allowed? Now, see, I that's fascinating to me. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Andy, talking about the cloud, it's interesting. The cloud. Oh, see, I haven't even looked at the Cloud Plus objectives, so I guess I wouldn't have known that. That's fascinating, though. I mean, I guess what else would it? If it's not platform specific, and CompTIA is traditionally not platform or company specific, what else would cloud be about, right? I mean, you could learn about Kubernetes, and that's, I guess, about everything, and buckets, the idea of buckets have kind of become ubiquitous, but the different interfaces with it, apart from very high level conceptual stuff, that'd be tough. So one of the courses I've completed, I don't know if it's live, but at CBT Nuggets, was Google's Cloud Digital Leader. It's kind of like their Linux, like Cloud Essentials, but I think Cloud Essentials is actually a course, so don't quote me on that. But it's very basic, and it tries really hard not to talk about Google products specifically. It tries to be very generic, and it's so funny. Like there's only so many concepts that aren't specific to a provider. So anyway, okay, yeah, don't do that. Don't raise your left arm then, please. Would very much ideally like the leads to stay in your heart. Kubernetes sounds like some secret boys clubhouse. Yeah, I had to learn Kubernetes, and I say that with scare quotes like crazy because I just had to learn enough about it to explain the different concepts and like how you would do things, why you would do things, what it does, what it doesn't do, so that then I could teach how Google specifically does Kubernetes. And it's both less complicated and far more complicated than it needs to be. Not needs to be. I mean, it's great for what it is, but it's just this weird, like, to know Kubernetes, it's almost like a misnomer. It's so many different things. Like it's a way to design products so that they are, modular and containerized, but then it's also a way to scale up and down. I don't know. It's a lot. I'm not going to give a Kubernetes course in the last 5 minutes of the live stream, but oof. Number is Sudoku. Okay, it took me a second. All right. My wife actually really likes Sudoku. She plays it on her phone. Anyway. Kubernetes, do you mean? No, it's used with like Docker containers. yeah, Kubernetes, I mean, at the most basic level, is it manages containers, originally Docker containers. Now any containerization platform is pretty standard. And it will spin them up and, scale them up, scale them down. But the thing is, if your application is not designed in a way that spinning up more containers will scale performance, well, then it's a moot point. And so to really get the most out of Kubernetes, you have to have an application designed in a way that more instances of part of your application running will make it more performant. And so that's why I can't, it's hard to say like, oh, Kubernetes is, this way that we manage containers, but it doesn't do anything valuable unless the applications that you are designing are designed in a way that containerization scaling will make the application grow and shrink. So it's like it's a great vehicle, but if you don't have the right kind of cars, I don't know. That's not a good metaphor, but anyway. Bite Moose, yeah, I know. You know what, the hour is almost gone already, but I appreciate that everybody could talk nerdy stuff with me. I needed it. I needed to talk nerdy. I've never been sad that I did a live stream, even if I wasn't up for it, and I wasn't up for it. And I'm glad we did it. So thank you to everyone. And yeah. So Linux Essentials. If you do end up taking that, Bite Moose, I do hope that you report back. Let us know what you think. I don't remember if I don't think I've ever actually taken the Linux Essentials exam. I don't think so. I mean, I'm, very familiar with the objectives, and, people who have watched my courses, both on CBT and now on YouTube, have passed based on the information there. But I don't think I've ever actually sat for the exam. So yeah, I'm curious what you think without revealing any stuff that you swear not to reveal when you take the exam. I'm not looking for that information. Sort of what the big plan was in the 80s, make cloud servers at your applications and files so they weren't on your computer. Yeah. I mean, basically, cloud computing is like a fancy mainframe, but it can be so complicated. There's so many aspects of cloud computing now. I mean, it's so complicated, which, I mean, is great because it means I have a job for years to come as I suss out all the Google Cloud information. But my goodness, I kind of wish I had a stronger development background because it's all so developer centric that if I was more of a developer, I think I'd have an easier time getting up to speed on stuff. But nonetheless, yes. Again, thanks for chatting with me. I really needed it today. I appreciate it. Andy, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah. One last note, my wife, the main ordering software for the books that the bookstore, she works at an indie bookstore, and when she orders books, they still use this very weird Unix-based back-end server system that they all connect to. It's like a mainframe, but it doesn't require a big computer anymore because, I mean, computers are so fast. So it's running on one server, and they connect to it over terminal. And that's still how they order almost all of their books. It fascinates me that is still the system in used. So thank you. Yeah. And it's green again. I did finally green it back up. But anyway, thanks again, everyone. And hopefully this will be a normal week for morning live streams if you're around Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 a.m. I try to stream, but it's on the other YouTube channel. So have a great day, everyone. Thanks for cheering me up. I appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your day, wherever you happen.